Growing up, my parents seemed to take pleasure in tearing me down with their words. From a young age, I became the target of their relentless mockery and belittlement. Whether it was my appearance, my abilities, or my dreams, they found a way to twist every aspect of my being into something to be ridiculed. Their words stung like venomous arrows, piercing deep into my fragile self-esteem. No matter what I achieved or attempted, it was met with scorn and disdain. Their expectations were impossibly high, and no accomplishment was ever enough to earn their approval. Instead, they reveled in pointing out my flaws, magnifying them to the point where they overshadowed any shred of confidence I tried to hold on to. Their mockery became a constant soundtrack to my life, an unrelenting reminder of my supposed inadequacy. Every interaction with them became a dreaded ordeal as I braced myself for the onslaught of insults and humiliation. I was made to feel small, insignificant, and unworthy of love or respect. The impact of their words on my psyche was profound. I started to internalize their cruel remarks, allowing them to define my sense of self-worth. Their mocking voices echoed in my mind long after the initial insults were uttered, leaving me with a pervasive sense of shame and self-doubt. I began to believe that their opinions were absolute truths, that I truly was the worthless individual they portrayed me to be. But deep within the darkness they thrust upon me, a flicker of defiance began to ignite. The constant humiliation and degradation slowly transformed into fuel for a burning desire for revenge. It was in those moments of anguish that I resolved to prove them wrong, to rise above their cruelty and show them the strength they never believed I possessed. Little did they know, their mockery would be the catalyst that set me on a path of self-discovery and empowerment. As I navigated the turbulent waters of my childhood, I clung to the belief that one day I would have the last laugh. The fire within me grew with every insult, propelling me forward, ready to take my revenge and rewrite the narrative of my life. As if the emotional torment wasn't enough, my parents' anger manifested in physical abuse as well. Their fists became weapons, raining down blows that left bruises and scars etched upon my body. The weight of their violence was crushing, a burden I carried with me day in and day out. Their anger seemed to have no bounds, triggered by the slightest provocation, or sometimes for no reason at all. Their faces contorted with rage as they unleashed their fury upon me, their own flesh and blood. I became a target for their frustrations and insecurities, absorbing the brunt of their violent outbursts. Each strike felt like a betrayal, a violation of the trust that should exist between a parent and a child. The pain I endured at their hands was both physical and emotional, leaving me feeling broken and shattered. I learned to flinch at the sound of their footsteps, anticipating the next blow that would inevitably come. The scars left by their violence served as a constant reminder of their cruelty. I carried them on my skin like badges of shame, unable to escape the physical reminders of their wrath. Their fists left imprints, not only on my body but also on my soul, eroding my sense of safety and trust in the world. In their moments of rage, they seemed to lose sight of the innocence and vulnerability of their own child. The love and protection I craved from them were replaced by aggression and brutality. The home that should have been a sanctuary became a battlefield, and I found myself trapped in the crossfire. But even in the darkest moments, a flicker of resilience burned within me. The bruises and scars became symbols of survival, testaments to my strength and endurance. I refused to let their violence define me, vowing to break free from the cycle of abuse and reclaim my own power. The depths of my parents' sadistic tendencies knew no bounds. As they resorted to a new form of torment, they began locking me away in a room. The once familiar walls that were meant to provide a sense of security became my prison, isolating me from the world outside. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months as I languished in that desolate room. I was stripped of any form of human connection, left alone with my thoughts and the suffocating weight of their cruelty. The outside world continued to move forward while I remained trapped in a state of perpetual solitude. The room became a symbol of their control, a physical manifestation of their desire to break my spirit. They held the key to my freedom, reveling in the power they wielded over my existence. I was denied the most basic human rights. The freedom to roam, to interact, and to experience the world beyond those confining walls. Time in that room became a blur, marked only by the passing of daylight that filtered through a small window. I retreated into the recesses of my mind, finding solace in imaginary worlds and dreams of liberation. In the silence and isolation, a fire burned within me, a determination to reclaim my life and escape the clutches of their tyranny. As days turned into months, I began to use the solitude as an opportunity for introspection and self-discovery. I examined the pieces of my shattered identity, slowly piecing them back together. In the absence of external validation or judgment, I found strength and resilience I didn't know I possessed. Locked away from the outside world, I became my own confidant and ally. I fortified my mind, honing my intellect and sharpening my resolve. I devoured books, feeding my thirst for knowledge and seeking my thirst for knowledge and seeking the wisdom that would ultimately become my weapon of vengeance. While the room held me captive, it also became the catalyst for my transformation. In the darkness and confinement, I hatched a plan, a meticulous strategy to turn the tables on my tormentors. The solitude provided me with the space and time to strategize, to identify their weaknesses and devise a plan that would dismantle their reign of terror. Locked away in that room, a profound awakening began to stir within me. The torment I endured, the isolation, and the suffocating control of my parents served as catalysts for a transformation that would shape the course of my life. In the depths of solitude, I tapped into a wellspring of inner strength that I never knew existed. The walls that surrounded me became a canvas for introspection as I confronted the demons of my past and embraced the truth of my own resilience. I refused to be defined by the abuse and confinement that had held me captive for so long. The darkness of the room could not extinguish the flame of hope that burned within me. It fueled my determination to break free from the chains that bound me, both physically and emotionally. I knew that liberation lay not only in escaping the room, but in reclaiming my autonomy, my identity, and my future. As the days stretched into weeks, I nurtured my mind and spirit. I devoured books, absorbing knowledge from various disciplines. The power of education became my ally, equipping me with the tools to challenge the narratives of my upbringing and the toxic beliefs instilled within me. Within the confines of my prison, I honed my creativity, finding solace in writing and artistic expression. I poured my emotions onto the page, creating a testament to my pain, my resilience, and my unwavering spirit. Through my words and creations, I discovered a voice that could not be silenced, a voice that demanded to be heard. The awakening within me brought clarity and purpose. It solidified my resolve to seek justice and revenge on those who had subjected me to a lifetime of mockery, abuse, and imprisonment. I vowed that they would no longer hold power over me and that I would rise above the pain they had inflicted upon me. With each passing day, my spirit grew stronger. I visualized a future where I would be free from their grasp, where I would forge my own path and define my own worth. The awakening within me became a beacon of light in the darkness, guiding me towards a new chapter of my life, one of liberation and redemption. The time had finally come for me to step out of the shadows and take control of my own destiny. Armed with newfound knowledge, resilience, and a burning desire for justice, I began to gather the pieces of my revenge puzzle. This chapter explores the meticulous preparation and gathering of information that would ultimately lead to their downfall. I became an observer, studying my parents' behavior and patterns with a keen eye. Their arrogance and complacency became evident as they underestimated the strength that had been building within me. I learned their weaknesses and vulnerabilities, discovering the cracks in the armor they used to shield their own insecurities. Every action and decision they made became a piece of the puzzle I was assembling. I meticulously collected evidence documenting their misdeeds and their darkest secrets. I delved into their past, uncovering skeletons buried deep within their closets. The knowledge I acquired became a weapon, a means to expose their hypocrisy and bring them to their knees. In the shadows, I planned my moves with precision. I orchestrated events and manipulated circumstances to undermine their authority and reveal their true colors. I forged alliances, cultivating relationships with individuals who could aid me in my quest for retribution. I became a master strategist, carefully calculating each step to ensure their ultimate downfall. As the storm gathered momentum, their world began to crumble. I orchestrated a series of revelations and confrontations, systematically dismantling the facade they had carefully constructed. Their secrets were exposed to the light of day, leaving them vulnerable and exposed. The power dynamics shifted, and they found themselves reeling in the face of the storm they had unknowingly provoked. The gathering storm became a symbol of my growing strength and resilience. It was a testament to the transformation I had undergone and a reminder that I would no longer be silenced or oppressed. I watched as the foundations of their power and control shattered, knowing that my revenge was within reach. The day of reckoning had finally arrived. This chapter delves into the climactic confrontation where the protagonist unleashes the full force of their revenge upon their parents. With a calculated precision and a burning fury in their heart, they expose the depths of their parents' sins and inflict a profound humiliation upon them. Armed with the knowledge they have gathered, the protagonist strategically unveils the truth, peeling back the layers of deception that their parents had carefully constructed. They confront their parents with undeniable evidence, forcing them to confront their own hypocrisy and the pain they have inflicted upon their own child. The protagonist's words cut deep, fueled by years of suffering and injustice. They articulate their pain and recount the abuse they endured, leaving their parents no room to deny or deflect responsibility. Each revelation is like a blow to their parents' egos, shattering the illusions they had created and exposing the true nature of their characters. But the revenge doesn't stop at mere words. The protagonist ingeniously engineers situations that further undermine their parents' authority and reputation. They turn their parents' allies against them, revealing the web of deceit that their parents had spun. Their parents find themselves isolated and abandoned, their carefully constructed support system crumbling around them. The fury unleashed by the protagonist is both cathartic and empowering. It is a moment of reclaiming their power, of breaking free from the chains of their parents' abuse. As their parents tremble with fear and desperation, the protagonist stands tall, fueled by a sense of justice and vindication. Through their revenge, the protagonist reclaims their dignity and self-worth. They assert their right to be treated with respect and demand accountability for the years of torment they endured. The power dynamics that once held them captive are irreversibly shifted as their parents become the ones trapped in the web of their own making. With their parents humiliated and exposed, the protagonist witnesses the dismantling of the toxic dynamics that once plagued their family. The once powerful figures in their lives now face the consequences of their actions, grappling with the repercussions of their abuse. The protagonist, on the other hand, finds solace in the justice that has been served. Triumphantly, the protagonist begins to rebuild their shattered sense of self. They gather the fragments of their identity that had been scattered by their parents' cruelty and piece them back together with newfound strength and resilience. The scars they bear become symbols of their survival and the battles they have fought. The revenge they sought becomes a catalyst for their redemption. It is not merely an act of vengeance, but a transformative journey of reclaiming their voice and asserting their worth. The protagonist sheds the weight of their parents' abuse and embraces a newfound sense of freedom, knowing that they are no longer defined by the torment they endured. In the wake of their revenge, the protagonist discovers a renewed purpose. They become an advocate for those who have suffered similar abuse, using their voice and experiences to raise awareness and support others who may be trapped in similar cycles of cruelty. Their journey of redemption extends beyond personal healing as they actively work to break the cycle of abuse and empower others. Freed from the torment that once engulfed their life, the protagonist takes their first steps towards a life of their own choosing. They emerge from the shadows of their past, basking in the light of newfound freedom. The weight of their parents' abuse slowly lifts, allowing them to breathe and envision a future filled with possibilities. With the scars of their past serving as reminders of their strength, the protagonist begins the process of healing. They seek therapy, engage in self-reflection, and actively work to rebuild their self-esteem and sense of self-worth. The wounds may take time to fully heal, but they are determined to nurture their spirit and create a solid foundation for a brighter future. The protagonist embraces opportunities for personal growth and self-discovery. They explore their passions, pursue their dreams, and surround themselves with a supportive network of friends and loved ones who uplift and validate them. They redefine their identity, no longer defined by the abuse they endured, but by their resilience and the person they have become. Forgiveness becomes a part of their journey. They learn to forgive themselves for any perceived shortcomings or perceived blame they once carried. They also navigate the complex terrain of forgiving their parents, not for their own sake, but as a means of liberating themselves from the emotional burdens that once held them captive. As they forge ahead, the protagonist becomes an agent of change. They use their own experiences as a source of strength and empathy to uplift others who have faced similar adversity. They become a voice for the voiceless, an advocate for survivors, and a symbol of resilience and empowerment.